minute now. Just my weary bones. Anything I want to say? Want to hear some stuff? Cripple Creek. It's probably a dumb song. Everybody's seen it 4 trillion times. One time I went to Campbell when I worked for him back in '72. And I said, let's change that. And he says, no, people love it. And I said, nobody loves that. I don't know a banjo player in the world loves it. He said, we're not playing for banjo. You guys are all banjo players. And I'm playing Cripple Creek. If we could have a bunch of people out here who never heard banjo before and play Cripple Creek. But for some reason this tune has become close to me in my old age or something. I was playing it for an old boy the other day in the hallway at work. And I don't want to bore you with this, but I'll just play Cripple Creek.
Sometime before you quit, do you mind to play that banjo raga thing? Do you still do that? Do you ever do that anymore? Do you remember how you did that?
But you know, but I believe that it's back here somewhere. If I can remember the tuning. Years I haven't played it. And I'm as curious as you are.
Tell us a little about it first. How did you come up with the idea to do this?
Well, the stories in my mind just don't make sense, but I'll try to. I bought a sitar because I really liked what I was hearing. I went out to see a sitarist. I got all gung-ho. I said, well, I'm going to learn to play this thing. So I went out and bought me one in Southern California, 1969. Got a little plectrum thing, fits on your finger. That was the first thing I didn't like, a little metal thing clamping down. It didn't feel like a finger pick at all. It just a little plectrum. Yeah, it looked like. And so I got home, I got me a book, and I got my position, proper posture and everything. I had the ball of that thing resting on barefoot. And you should best without shoes on. So I was sitting there, and it was really neat, the sympathetic strings and all that. The book didn't make a bit of sense to me. Books hardly do, like music books. I've always had a rough time with those things. And I couldn't learn to play anything on it. And I didn't want to go off on that because I was playing this, and I had my guitar, and harmonica, and I was trying to write songs. I was getting married, just a couple of months from getting married. I had a sitar in my hand. Sitar, it wound up in the corner. It's by Ravi Shankar.
Still have it?
No, I sold it. This is the truth. And so I was sitting up, I used to stay up at night. I was night out before I had kids and stuff. You know, once you have kids, you sort of get on a normal schedule, normal schedule. And I quit being the night owl I was. I would write these things like 4 o'clock in the morning, but I wrote a lot of banjo stuff, a lot of weird things. This is one of them I remembered, and I recorded it. Apparently it didn't ruin your banjo playing too bad. Let's see some position. Shabby right there.
Keep going. There.
I'm sorry, but I got through most of it. That's an old song. But Banjo Rock, I wrote that because I couldn't learn to play the sitar. Janet?
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in
Long time.
8 years. How you doing?
Good.
Is that enough of that?
Yeah, thanks for doing
I'm
that.
sorry.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
The neck here on that thing. But, I think I've got one album, a copy of that album I did in 1970. It's still shrunk wrap, and I'm afraid that someday somebody's going to come and say, I'll give you about maybe $10 for that thing, still shrunk wrap. I can't tell that the second one I did, the black and white cover, somebody saw it in one of those used record shops. They're charging about $20 for the thing. It's all bizarre songs I wrote.
No banjo. I was
Absolutely.
kind of ticked off when I bought it.
You old enough to have bought it?
Yeah.
Did you buy it?
Yeah.
I wonder how many people I ticked off.
I'll buy it from you. Larry, can you play Grey Eagle? Will you play Grey Eagle?
I'll try. It's been a while. I was messing with that, I think last time I played it, 2 years ago, I played it at one of these concerts. I'll be honest with you, anybody's trying to play fiddle tunes on a banjo, it's like, let's see, it's like bicycle riding. You never forget primarily how to do it. But if you don't stay on that thing every day, you're not going to play it like, let's say, flag.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's my version of it. I learned that Honey Forster record is now out of print. And it's still my favorite. And those, the two albums he recorded in the early 60s are still my two favorite fiddle albums. And one's on, you can find them like those old record stores and things. They're, if you guys really like fiddle tunes, a lot of that stuff can be transcribed to the band. One's on United Artists, and one's on MGM Cub, and they're the only two fine albums on fiddle playing I've ever heard on major labels. It'll be hard to find, and the rest of the stuff isn't on those two albums. And I learned so much from those two records back in the middle 60s when I was doing it. And I never would have thought I'd be sitting in a little room, but people really wanted to hear this sort of stuff back then. Anything you want to say?
Do another one of those Howdy Forster fiddle tune things. Anything with Greg's on Manning or
I don't play this.
Granny, some grandpa or granny.
Grandma, you look at Uncle Sam.
Yeah, you do that one?
Yeah.
Sam's real.
I don't do that. I do a very small percentage of fiddle tunes when you get out of the mainstream.
Do a Sally Goodman in a different key.
I used to.
You gave me a copy of that a long time ago.
I did. With Bobby Clark and.
I don't remember. I don't know who was playing with it. It sounded damn good, but I don't know. It was in a different key. I think it was a different tuning.
It's probably D tuning. I was fiddling with that a lot a couple of years ago when I was playing with the Southern Manor Band. I played with it for about a year, and we did all kinds of strange stuff.
That's it.
I don't remember that. I couldn't finger it. I hear it, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just that a lot of the things I don't remember playing. Like Grandma has got me baffled. Jethro Burns in 1976. And we threw all those new songs that Roy Husky Jr. 76, that's a long time ago. It was right on the number chart for Husky, and some of the best bass playing in the whole wide world. Not to mention Jethro Burns. Bill Cheatham.
Larry, do you still play that old Susanna? That core melody thing that you did on Power Play?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I think I want to attempt that. I might after a few moments, after I get a little bit warmer.
I've got a more of a technical question to ask you about the ending you did the shucking the corn when you recorded it. How do you do that? The positions that you use. There's a bunch of triplets there. It's like throwing, throwing, throwing. I've been doing it wrong. I've been trying to do it. It's good.
I came on that lick. I was sitting at the Ross Hotel, which is it was the cheapest hotel in Nashville. Some guys dropped me off back in '66, and my banjo was laying out. Had an old master tone RB250 bow tie job. You know, the holes. Everybody's familiar with that sort of outfit. His banjo was laying there on the bed. I was real lonesome for the people I used to live with and play music with. I was just 17. It was like I was all by myself there in this hotel room. And they dropped me off and gave me a little money and says, "You can do something. Do it." And I said, "Yeah, right." So I was scared to death. But I was sitting there in the room, and I'd just written that lick. I don't know where it came from. You know, I have no idea, but I thought it was pretty nifty. 1966. And this big cockroach crawled right out of the plant. I had a heart attack. It was a terrible hotel. And so what I would do at night, I'd lay on my bed, pull those sheets real tight, military style, I guess you'd call it, so I could hear anything crawling across that sheet. They were big at the Ross Hotel back then. Anyway, but I'd sit on the bed and I'd work out all these things. It's just banjo players like. I don't know, or banjo makers. Do you play banjo?
Well, a little bit, not much.
Enough to know what I'm talking about. What is stuff banjo players would enjoy, but you know the stuff we go through to play these things. I don't know. But that's did you get it?
Yeah.
There you get it.
Here.
I like that Jimmy Arnold. What's that, Strictly Arnold? You remember that album? He took those are just stripped like old ragtime music. That's where it all came. It's just stuck away memories of music I've heard all my life. And he took that same lick and he did it. I never could figure out what he was saying. Put a little bit of
Continuous strings.
you can take one simple little dumb lick and just off the rails. You know, so if you were doing it wrong, you may have been doing it wrong to you, but you may have, you may come up with your own thing. Did it just sound wrong, or?
All sounded awkward.
Awkward.
Not clean. The way I was trying to do it anyway, and then finally just gave up and said, well, hell with that, I'll choose something else. You know, but I was trying to, and I looked like a yoga guy. I mean, I was all these strange contortionistic things I was doing with my fingers, and I said, no, it's got to be an easier way to do this. So I figured one of these days I'd meet you and ask you that question.
What's that girl that played banjo with Lynn, played with Whetstone around? Lynn
Morris?
Glenn Morris? Real good banjo player?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw her, we talk about weird positions and fingerings and stuff. She had worked up a song I wrote, I guess in 1965, Beth. That thing. And I used to get letters when I was on TV there for a while, people tuning stuff. Because that position right there, which it's all it is a G, it's a G augmented, I'm not augmented, it's suspended fourth. Things are right under you. You see how simple that is. You know, it's like, I remember when I first heard Don Reno's, you know, I'd sit in my front room as a kid. It passed through my mind, I'll never do that. And then I said, no, I've got to do that because Don Reno's doing that. And I love Don Reno. I love Don Reno more than I love anything at this point in my life. When I was about 16, I thought, I'll meet this man one of these days and I'll be okay. And I did. And I was okay. He was great. And this lick, one day I was just sitting there and I said, I will get this lick. I had all kinds of strange, all kinds of funny ways, and it didn't sound right, just like you talking. And one day I'm sitting there and I picked it up and it's weird. And it's like, if you keep with it long enough and you stay with it every day, 5, 6 days a week, or a little bit every day, if you concentrate, when you can, those things will, it's like serendipity. It'll present itself for you almost. It's almost like magic. But that lick, it just came out. And I about fell off the chair. It's like, how did that happen? Because that doesn't look like anything I was doing back then. It didn't relate to any kind of fingering I ever had. But it just fell out. It's like somebody was standing there. Well, here, lady. And I learned to do follow the leader.
Yeah.
His fingering sometimes was just it was what's the word, function. It was just to get the function. It was, it's like when you hear Bill Keith do something, it's like perfect. I mean, you can tear it apart, slow speed, 33 and a third, 15, take it down to bottom, everything's right. There's nothing in there that's like, well, I'll let that slide. Don Reno would let things slide. Earl, I don't think let things slide. You can tear those records apart and you can hear everything's perfect. But Don would slide. What are we going to do next?
Should do a little bit more of that, Beth.
Okay, dude? Sure. That's a hard one. I never played that song but one time with a band. That was with Campbell with an orchestra. And I didn't have any fun at all until I saw Lynn Morris in 1984 at a festival. I was playing Southern Manor. I was standing out by the van and I heard Beth. The only time I'd ever heard it in the proper surroundings. And I just about, I couldn't believe it. It was actually a banjo tune. It was one of those things you toss off at 3:30 in the morning. And I never took any of that serious, but she was playing it. She was playing it out there with a bluegrass band. We started playing Southern Manor. And it's still hard for me to play it. Steel players, and I learned a lot of their licks were like, all that still influenced. I would borrow from anybody that played in anything. I don't care if it was a sitar. What's next? What do I do?
I don't know. She doesn't know.
You're back here again, I believe, at 3:30.
Okay.
But until then, at 1:30, they have
There's
those
the group photo.
Yeah, those are going to be great when I'm about 90. They're great now. I mean, I got to sit next to Charlie Cushman and Tony Trischka last night. I enjoyed that a lot. But I hope I've shed some light on a little bit of this nonsense. That's all it is, really. Deep down to it. I love every minute of it. And I'm sorry about you buying that album.
It's all right.
But it'd be better to give it back now because it didn't cost as much then, if you recall. All these different albums today. I guess I'm gonna leave. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for waiting on me too, and I am again sorry I was late.
Randall.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dave Monheim. How are you? I'm well.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Very good.
Enjoying a beautiful summer
Oh,
day.
can you believe it?
Listening to incredible music.
Well, I got another video here.
Son of a bitch.
Can't believe it. Yeah, you know,
Start where I can do the rhythm part, and then later learn to do the chord melody.
There's nothing you can't do. But if you like traditional, like Dixieland style jazz, yeah, it fits real well as a rhythm instrument, as an instrument playing lines. One of the tapes that I have available here is just that. It's two banjos playing traditional jazz with a rhythm section. It's really high. They're playing horn-type lines against one another.
What's the name of Eddie Peabody? Is he known as the Dixieland?
No, he was actually a chord melody style, real fast riverboat strumming style playing, more than anything else.
We can go ahead and get started, even though some people probably will start coming in, you know, as we get started, but they really want us to try to stick to the time schedule.
Yeah, we're already getting started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're already in the middle of finding out what these
Play one
guys
at a time, or I'm trying to figure out what the best way to set it
One at a time, I guess.
When you say mics, are you recording this or something?
is.
We'll probably go, yeah, we probably should go first one at a time.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back
Okay.
and forth and we can
Okay.
interact a little
All
bit.
right.
Because we're just making it up
Okay.
as we go.
So,
So are you gonna, I'm assuming,
well, there would be no reason to do one or the other except that you've now stuck the microphone in front of me so I could start. That's sort of not a reason to do it.
And we missed one fellow, I think.
Okay.
Fel- We got half of you. Not a,
I would like an introduction too, something like what these guys are.
yeah. So we can kind of show these guys some of what you can do, unfortunately.
Basic technique and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like
Then maybe
that.
you can choose a direction.
How to reach some of those long reaches.
Well, I'll be real brief to start with because I do a very specialized form of four-string playing, which is Irish music on the tenor banjo. And it really, what I would have to say would really only apply to that style. So I'll just do one brief thing and maybe hand over to you and you can talk about more general styles and maybe come back to me in a bit. But Irish style on the banjo is very simply, you try to do, using your left hand and your right hand using a pick, what a fiddler would do. Over here they call instrumental music fiddle tunes. We would never elevate the fiddler to such a position. I wouldn't elevate anybody to any position in our society.
What is strings tuned to?
The strings are tuned exactly the same as a fiddle, an octave below, and we have to put on heavier strings, so it ceases to become a regular tenor banjo. The banjo was taken to Ireland by the minstrel shows, but it was the five-string fretless banjo. We have pictures of them, sketches, that's why we know. They were played by travellers, backing themselves up, singing songs, just strumming along, or strumming behind an instrumentalist. And around the turn of the century, we started to play instrumental tunes, especially after frets became popular on the banjo. When the tenor banjo was invented, then that really became the instrument that we favoured in Ireland, although there was a residue of the banjo mandolin and some five-string banjo, zither banjo. You found those from time to time, but mostly it was the tenor banjo. And really ever since the 1960s, it's become a very, very predominant instrument in the tradition. Tuned like a fiddle, and what we did, we adapted to the vast body of music and the styles of playing it that had been there before the banjo arrived, much as all the instruments did. The fiddle came from Europe, the flute came from Europe, the tin whistle was there beforehand, so we don't know how it was played. The pipes was an indigenous instrument, the concertina, the accordion, the melodeon, all came from Europe. So most of the instruments in our tradition came from somewhere else, and the distinctive Irish style was then adapting to what was there already. And what was there already was the familiar 8 bars of music repeated, then another 8 bars of music repeated, pattern in different time signatures, either for dancing or for listening to it. Played on different instruments with a lot of ornamentation and variation and embellishment. Best way to show that would be to play a tune as it would be, say, written down in books. Say Miss McLeod's Reel is a good one because I guess you'd know the melody. Da 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 da. And this is basically the way you'd see it, with alternating the down up down up down up picking style. Just it. The bare bones of what we would do, but that wouldn't do at all for playing Irish music. That's the way you see it written down in the book, and nobody plays like that. The essence of the music is to put in all the things I mentioned, different kinds of embellishments, and the first kind of embellishment would be on an instrument using the pick or on the fiddle to a triplet. So with the grace note instead of going. Notes and you're putting in triplets. Now that alters the picking dramatically. Instead of going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, a triplet is down, up, down, and then the next stroke is down again. So you have 3 downs already to 1 up. A triplet is always down, up, down, and always is followed by a down. And even if the stroke beforehand is down or up, so you could have a down and then a triplet, down, up, down, and then down. So you have 4 downs to 1 up. Then you put in triplets when you feel like it, basically. The next thing you do, just like the fiddle would do, is double stops. So you can play more than 2 strings. Okay, triplets and chords, and then little bits of variation. To instead of going da 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 da, you go to down, and put a bit of swing. first position, so you don't have to go beyond the seventh fret. That's a fairly large stretch to make if you just play the mandolin. If you use the banjo, it's not much of a stretch really. Just most of the tunes don't go beyond this first position. And that's basically it, and then you've got to learn a few thousand tunes, all yourself. A jig is different. A jig represents, maybe I'll get back to jigs later.
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay, a jig.
What do you-
And you're going on the offbeat, so you go. So you're hitting, you kind of providing your own accompaniment, you know. It bounces the tune along, you know, to get away from the da 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 da, which is really nobody in any music to play it like it was written down. I thought it was just a reminder.
And the triplets are just a matter of coordination, developing that timing.
I guess, yeah. When you learn tune first, you're learning style, you learn mechanically, you know, and then you go beyond that once you've mastered a tune that when I'm teaching how to play, there's a tune I play called The Very Blacksmith, and it's a real good one. You go, instead of going, you go, and you get to practice. It's down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. It's a triplet. Succession of triplets. That. A jig then represents a different time signature. A jig is in triads. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, dum, 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 dum. So a jig by nature, even before you start putting in any ornamentation, is down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, just to get the swing of it right. That's a hell of a thing to practice if you've been used all your life to going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, to go down, up, down, down, up, down. And then you put in a triplet, so it becomes down, down, up, down. So you have lots of down stroke. And then lots of little variations and jumps in the tunes. And as you get more and more advanced in playing, you leave out a lot of little things too. Sometimes people think the technique is how much you put in. Sometimes it's a lot of what you leave out too. Instead of going dot, 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 you got da da dum, da da da. Sometimes leaving out something is a variation in its own right. To know where that fits into four-string styles in general, or how different it would be from the stuff that you play.
I play those and I don't do them that way.
Yeah.
I'm the change now.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
So I'll shove this over towards you.
Okay. Well, there are two kinds of four-string banjos. And isn't it? It's a tenor you have, isn't it?
It's a tenor.
Could I borrow it?
Sure.
Near ahead. Wonderful. We'll stay with the same tuning, but where mix was tuned in perfect fifths, like a violin, or like a viola, but a fifth lower, actually. Lowell, what did they call that? Is Lowell here? Yeah. Is that the octave mandola tuning or something?
It would be,
when you
like
tune
your,
bass G?
like a cello banjo.
Like a cello
Yeah,
banjo.
on a fifth from your normal one.
Yeah, so that mixed tuning is like a cello, standard cello banjo tuning. Now this is the tenor banjo, which is fingered the same way, but the notes are different names, since it's tuned just like tenor banjo. My bottom note is C, and it comes up C, G, D, A, where his is coming up G, D, A, E. And it's an octave lower than the mandolin. So it's an octave lower than the mandolin. It's a good reference. Now, I don't know how this fits into the kind of music that you guys would know, the tenor banjo. I think some of the guys that I've heard playing early bluegrass, like Arthur Smith, played some pretty cool bluegrassy type lines on it. But originally, the instrument was used just as a rhythm instrument, I think, tenor, back in the 20s. And you were talking about playing basic rhythm, I think a couple of you guys, just like playing rhythm guitar, same idea. You use a nice chopping sound, generally a little higher on the neck than back here, but that sort of effect. And guys built from that basic rhythm style, a chord melody style, which Eddie Peabody and some of the other names that you've heard before really popularized back in the 20s. And what they would do is take the melody of a song like this, and add it to the chords. So the chords would just be these, as I just played. And the main function of the tenor banjo was as a rhythm instrument years ago. And you know, the horns would play the melody, or someone would sing, and the tenor banjo would play. Just the rhythm. Now, you can add the melody in there and do what's called chord melody style. I don't know if there's such a thing on 5-string, because you're playing the melody all over the neck on the 5-string. 4-stringers call this chord melody because you're playing the melody mostly on the 1st string. And you can do that by adding the right chord to that melody note, and we come up with this. Your rhythm strokes to that. That's really the basic of the 4-string banjo styles that you hear guys do, and of course they do it real fast. You hear a lot of guys. Which is just real fast chord strumming up and down the neck. There are two ways that you'll find guys do that. One of the ways is that guys will strum and hit all 4 strings like one string. And Eddie Peabody did that pretty often. Eddie played another tuning here. Maybe I could show you on there even better. Where this is what's called plectrum banjo. And it's tuned just like 5-string with C tuning, except it doesn't have a 5th string. So I have this. Familiar to you. But on the bottom I've got a C. I've got that. So the shapes will be familiar to you. Except the strumming on this, and there are 2 ways to hold your wrist for the 4-string banjo strumming. This kind of strumming is a free wrist. It's the kind of strumming you do when you play rhythm. Popularized by the early rhythm players and also by Eddie Peabody, this fellow that we're mentioning, who did the chord melody style. And the arm is up here on the armrest, and you sort of bounce your hand back and forth as if you were wringing out a thermometer, like this. You try to keep the weight back here, controlled by the position of your forearm on the armrest. So you're bouncing like this, and it's basically a rhythmic style. that same tune. And notice I'm going to be strumming across all 4 strings, just like one. No distinction between individual strings. Strings. So you get things like this. Triplet. Hear that? So you can get an 8th note from the 16th like this. Or you can do 2 triplets. So, or you could do a stroke like this, throwing the accents around. Basic stroke. On the beat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. We could do this. Like Mick was bringing out a chord, sort of accenting the beat to give the effect of some rhythm happening at the same time while the single notes were happening. You could take a measure and accent beat 2 and 4, and it suggests rhythm behind you. There are numerous things you could experiment, come up with lots of your own. Or anything you want. So there's one whole style of 4-string banjo that's just built on these right-hand rhythms, and just big clumps of notes here, rather than single note. And that's what we call the chord melody style. Now, there's something that guys on 4-string don't do. This is, if you came to a 4-string rally, what you'd hear is guys mostly doing this. And even when they're sitting around, a lot of guys playing together, a lot of them would be doing this. When often, if a lot of guys are playing a tune, what's more appropriate is playing backup. And that is just playing the chords to the song. But you get 10 guys all sitting together playing that chord melody, and the melody is buried in the middle of all these other 3 notes, and it doesn't come out too strongly. So there is a way to do this chord melody style where you bring out the melody string, that 1st string. And that's this. It's almost like a tremolo, real fast strum on the 1st string. So it's this with the chords brought in on a beat in some kind of pattern. And that comes into the category of what we call duo style. And I think you were asking about that.
Right.
Duo style, once you free up the pick and you can play well enough to do a tremolo like that, and you can start it if you haven't played with a pick before, you start the tremolo this way. 4 per beat, and then you can try to do it 6 per beat as triplets. You could try to do it 8 per beat. Once you've got that, the idea would be to bring a whole chord in, whatever chord you're holding, say on the beat, or on the offbeat. So I'm sort of accompanying myself.
Does the chord get the same value as the 4 beats you were doing on the tremolo? Time that.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean.
When you said bring the chord in on the offbeat.
Yeah, it gets a longer time value. If you just listen to it, you'll see what I mean. It's just like doing this. Bong, 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 bong. And just let it ring. It's going to keep ringing through the tremolo, see? It's just going to keep doing that. So you could work that into a song, too, like the Bye Bye Blues. And that's the beginning of what's called duo style. And with that, once you've freed the pickup enough to do that on one string and jump off and hit other strings, you can hit other strings individually while you're hitting that tremolo. Like, for example, slow one.
Do you play what's the name of that tune? All the Things You Are?
Yeah, well that's a little more complicated, but you can play the chord melody on a song like this. Now here's your tremolo on the first string with the added chords on the beat. So you see the chords are added to that tremolo. So that's one duo style.
Do you ever pick the melody notes up on a string other than the verse?
Yeah, I'll get to that, but I don't want to introduce you to this in parts. There's a lot to show you on the 4-string that you probably haven't heard, and you know, all of this, because guys really don't do it that much. To show what I just showed you again and make it a little more involved, you could put the melody on the top string and begin picking out separate notes on the bottom string with that same idea. So instead of picking out chords with that upstroke to a down, I'm going to pick out individual notes so I can get a separate voice happening against the melody, like this, for example. Watch. So it's almost like two. The idea there, and that's a little bit more complicated, but it's still based on a tremolo on the top string on the melody. Then I come back to the idea of putting a melody on the bottom string. Yeah, you can put the melody anywhere. And that's something 4-string banjo players pretty recently haven't done. But to you guys it doesn't make any difference because you're willing to hear it any place. 4-string banjo players were sort of brought up with this A.E. Peabody style where you have the melody on the top string and everybody plays it that way. But yeah, instead of playing Bye Bye Blues this way, you could do this. And that passes real fine. It's kind of like bluegrass guitar. You can put your little single note fillings and stuff in. But yeah, you can do it any way you want to. So that's sort of an idea about the more popular 4-string styles. You can put the melody on a bottom string. I was doing some of that this morning. I didn't get a chance to really credit part of the little arrangement that I did there, which was by a dear friend of mine, an incredible 4-string banjo player, Perry Bechtel, who just played all sorts of things on those bottom strings. He would do this. And much like Mick was doing before, he'd try to bring in chords on the beat like this. So you put those two together, like this. And you can really do that with any tune. Greetings, come on in. So that's sort of a chord and melody overview. And what I mean by chord and melody is that you have a melody and you have some chords, and somehow you're combining the two. Sometimes the melody note's on a top string, sometimes it's on a bottom string. But you've got a melody and a rhythm and a chord style all going on at the same time there. So it's kind of self-sufficient. And there's another style that you can do that was made popular back in the 20s by a guy named Harry Reeser, who was a violinist and a really good banjo player, and a sort of studio musician in New York playing on the radio all the time. And he took tunes that were like fiddle kinds of tunes and enjoyed playing them, and in fact wrote his own tunes that were very stylized for the tenor banjo back in the 20s, and he patterned those after ragtime. So now we just did the chord melody style. Now I'm going to do a style that has, for the most part, no chords at all in it. It's just individual notes, single notes. And you have to picture the accompaniment. But these things, Lowell, do you want to chord me on a Reeser tune?
Oh, try it now.
Yeah. Let's see if we're... Let's see if we know one together. Which one's the...
I heard for a second the lollipop, I could probably fake it.
Okay.
Do it again, starting at the end.
This action on label. Action for lollipop. That inspired this guy to write for banjo, and he did like 13 of those, just as single note solos for the most part. So that's another approach to the 4-string banjo, just individual single notes. How the 4-string differs from 5-string a lot, in my mind, is that it's approached more legitimately like a guitar or like a violin in the positions, in the manner you phrase what you're trying to play, what you're thinking. So you don't get broken patterns playing one G up here and the same note up here, etc. You do play more scale here really in positions. And the style that I just played there is, it comes from approaching the instrument like violin. Whereas, for example, on 5-string banjo, you have little positions that you move up and down and play single notes in. On this one, you have, for example, from here, C to C. From here, C to C, and from here, C to C. So you can work in each of those positions. You have a scale here. Have one here. You have one here. So you can improvise in each of these little positions. And if you can improvise in one, you can improvise in the others, just like going up the piano keyboard. It's the same thing. So you get the idea. See if I can give you an example. Suppose you had, you were, let's just play a tune together. Suppose you had an idea and you wanted to improvise a phrase, and your phrase was, well, if you wanted to duplicate that one an octave lower, you'd play the exact same fingering back between these two C's. And now if you want to duplicate that, you come back and play the exact same fingering here. So you put them all together and it's the same fingering. Positional ability that you don't have on 5-string so much. And it's real logical, it's right in front of your face. It's another advantage that 4-string has sometimes. But the 4-string plectrum, this kind, is not. It's more like 5-string. It's a more difficult approach to voice single notes scalarly, in scale patterns. I see a lot of guys on plectrum banjo, that tuning, or rather on 5-string banjo. This is a difficult thing to explain, isn't it? All playing scales by alternating back and forth across the top string, and whereas we play them in scale positions. And it's actually a lot faster and considerably more accurate for the most part to do it that way, even though you guys on 5-string last time had 3 strings. If you get those scales down right under your fingers, you can play it like a violin, and if you can pick pretty fast, and you can on a good day, I mean, you can hit 15, 16 notes a second. You can do some incredible things on a flat-picking instrument. Lots of other stuff. Let's just go back and forth and if I get some input. I mean to keep going.
No.
Thanks, Lenny.
As I said, the Irish style, I've seen a couple of newcomers come in here, is a very specialised style of 4-string tenor banjo playing with the banjo tunes, an octave below fiddle and mandolin. And it's very, very much a melodic tradition. It strikes me that that's the single biggest difference between a lot of the styles that have evolved here in this country. Very much a combination of melodic and chordal traditions, or else a chordal tradition.
What I've noticed too is that it has a specific repertoire. where, and, you know, it's evolved around that repertoire.
Yeah.
And how you need to present that repertoire, whereas this thought,
Yeah.
it's just playing different kinds of music.
That's right, different kinds of music. Within our repertoire, there's some variation, of course, but still, it is a repertoire of jigs and reels, dance tunes, jigs, reels, and hornpipes, and tunes that have no fixed time, where you use a tremolo effect. Potential there for putting in chords, or drones. Drones are very much part of the Irish musical attitude to chords, because we have the bagpipes, and any tradition that has bagpipes in it tends to sanction the use of the drone instead of changing chords. For instance, here. G, now you go day, day, da 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 da. But you wouldn't have to do that necessarily, because it's okay just to play. Because the ears allow that to happen without feeling that it's wrong, because the drone is so much a part of the music. And then there's one other kind of music that we have, which is neither dance music nor those 3-time slow airs. It's music that comes down from the harp tradition, and if you listen to groups like the Chieftains, I guess most of you have heard at one time or another the Chieftains, there are major musical ambassadors in terms of visibility. And they provide a lot of the music of the harpers, and you can play that on the banjo. I'm not sure how well it suits, but I do play occasional tunes from the harp tradition, and you can hear kind of a baroque flavour there. Within our tradition again to play tunes that have that sort of slightly baroque flavour to them, in that the harpers did listen to the music of Renaissance Italy, to music of Vivaldi and Corelli and Giuliani, incorporated little bits of that, and that constitutes really the sum total of our instrumental tradition. There are many, many thousands of tunes within each category, so to be playing with other people socially, like hanging out and playing in sessions or in jams, you'd want to know a couple of thousand tunes, and I guess that a lot of the effort in Ireland goes into learning the huge repertoire. You know, when people are comparing musicians to each other, they always talk about what's the size of the repertoire, you know, how many tunes the guy knows. But another thing is the variation, and certain tunes lend themselves to variations and to the ornamentation more than others, and I guess the tunes I've always favoured have been tunes I learned from fiddle players, and the reason being that they're kind of suitable for the tenor banjo is that a lot of them span the octaves. Possible range of the 2.5 octaves between that are all in the first position. This is a tune called Farewell to Erin. banjo because it goes right across the 4 strings, a lot of back and forth, and you can tell it's a fiddle tune too. So the fiddle and the tenor banjo are very, very kind of symbiotically related. Fiddle can do a lot of things like sliding between notes that the banjo has some difficulty in doing, and the fiddle can do things like rolls that involve all left-hand work. The banjo can't do because you can't just keep up with the pick and keep the fluid motion. Fiddle is capable of more legato, more even kind of playing with the banjo. So there are restrictions, and what you do is you try to play in the strengths rather than to develop on the inhibitions that the instrument has built into it.
What was the name of that tune?
That was called Farewell to Erin, Farewell to Ireland, and it's a real. I'll play one more jig, maybe come back to it. The jig, as I said earlier, because of its time signature, dum 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 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's down up down down up down down up down down up down down dum down 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 dum 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 dum. So most people after the down up down, the tendency is to go into another upstroke right away, and you can't do it that you go. That's all down up. So it gets, you get these 2 open strings here, which you can practically play together all the time. So certain tunes really suit themselves to the tenor banjo played Irish style.
What was that?
I don't know, that's a Scottish tune, I don't know the name of it escapes me right now. So no questions, so I'll send it on back.
Okay, the stuff we were doing up to there was around the melody. Now, you can do stuff that is a little bit more individual single note picking that 4-stringers call broken chord strokes. And it's sort of like Jesse McReynolds cross picking, that sort of stuff. You can do that on here. Cross picking sounds real good on 4-string banjo as it does on mandolin. And there are also other kinds of broken chord strokes that you can do. For example, here's an interesting one. Up, down, down, down. Up, down, down, down. Just doing this over and over. Up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. What's called a glide stroke. And put that in a tune. Suppose I had a tune chord melody, this one. You guys probably know it. with it, with a melody note on top. I get this. That's another possibility. You can also reverse that if you have your melody on a bottom string, like this. Do this one. Down, 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 up. Down, 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 up. Suppose I did the same tune and put the melody on the bottom string. Now, I'm starting the beat on that third string, so I could put the melody there. It would sound this way. For styles. And any one of these you could really build a style around. The idea would be to put them together and create a style that uses all of them. You wouldn't use them continuously either. You might play through a tune and use one a little bit and use another one, use one of the chord styles and then one of the broken chord strokes. Ragtime puts a lot of these to use just naturally. For example, I was thinking of the Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin. Here we have a cross-picking stroke. And that just keeps going. Down, up, down, up, down, up. And that fits into rags a lot. So we take... The melody went on the bottom string. Now, there's your cross picking. So ragtime fits real well with these. And there are loads of rags. A lot of it depends, too, on the repertoire, what kinds of tunes you like. And for that riverboat style, there are a whole lot of strokes and strums and left-hand flashy and right-hand flashy things you can do for that. Play a tune. A real famous one is Waiting for the Robert E. Lee. And in this one, I'll do it in sort of an Eddie Peabody flashy style. What you'll see is a lot of four-note chords being slid around and a lot of fast right-hand strumming. But with almost all of it, you're going to hear mostly strumming on 4 strings at a time. But from that, you can begin to use some of these other techniques that I was showing you and blend them in. Like that last tag, I could do one of these strokes. Or, that kind of thing. Yeah, are we over? Yeah, so...
Buddy, can I ask one question? How do you improvise on single string over the jazz things that you do? How do you come up with all those things? It sounds just like straight off a piano or something. Who do you draw from, or what do you draw from?
Well, that's hard to answer in 30 seconds. I can tell you the secret. A lot of guys are going to say study Study scales like crazy, yeah, that's true. Study scale superimposition, yeah, that's all true. But the most powerful way you can learn to do anything is to copy people who already do it well. And what I find that's a problem, I give a lot of workshops to banjo players. And what I find that seems to be the case is that banjo players listen to banjo players all the time. And they listen to traditional jazz, and they listen to stuff that is banjo. And a lot of what I do just came from ideas that I've gotten over the years by listening to guys that play other instruments. And I copied all the banjo players, the good ones that I could find, and I copied clarinet players and piano players and you know, horn players of all kinds, and just kept copying. It's the best thing you can do because it creates a music model in your head for improvisation. And for some of you guys who might not be interested, but the idea is if you want to learn to play tennis, you wouldn't just go to some guy as an amateur next door. You go to the best player you can find, and you copy him. You do what he does exactly. So that's a powerful tool, just mirroring somebody else who does it well. Copy those solos note for note. And what you find is, by copying Benny Goodman's After You've Gone, note for note, by listening to it on the record, and playing it back and forth, listening, and measure by measure, first getting it in your head, maybe then writing it down. Although you don't have the harmonic and the melodic understanding of what's happening when you've learned the solo by rote, you'll get it a lot faster because encoded in that solo is a whole lot of the groove, the feel, the harmony, the whole root of the improvisation that you would need years of study to get. It's a lifetime of music that you're being handed when you do that work. And as a student in one of my workshops said, well, no, I'm not doing that. I want you to write out the solos for me. My response to him was just that the real work in learning is doing it. It's taking someone else's style apart. That's the real work. And if you can do that, that's where the benefit happens. And I've asked all the good players on every instrument, and I'm not talking about banjo players, because I play with lots of different kinds of players on different instruments. I've asked all the really great players on every instrument that I've known how they got to be really good. And every one of them just copied the best musicians they could find. The work's already done for you. If you go to med school, you don't have to reinvent the human body. You know, that's the trick. So that's my best advice on improvisation. Just listen to really good players.
Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. And if you want to get together and talk a little bit about scales and stuff, I'll be glad to show you in particular. I hope that was interesting.
Yeah, well, it's great.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to going home and trying out some of what you Oh yeah, we'll do that.
That's great. Have you any instruction books at all?
No, I just did 2 instructional tapes for Happy Clowns.
Yeah.
For homespun kids. I did do one in England.
Where do you live?
In Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
Yeah.
Would you? I run a concert and workshops here.
That's,
What happened there?
I don't know exactly. No, it's, yeah, we didn't actually have it worked out, but I think a lot of the players, know a little bit of this, like, the high part to it, but, Pat was able to kind of all the rest of it. No, we didn't have it worked out yet.
We've all played something like that.
Yeah.
Different people.
For some reason or another, that's a, if you're gonna just do it off the cuff, Woodruff Park is a pretty good one to do it with.
How do you approach training or doing the tenor?
Well, there is one sort of shortcut if you're ever stuck at a stage situation where somebody wants. Yeah, you can do it. You just think about playing a lot of it off the second string. If it's something fairly simple, you know. Let's see, how can I? And it really might not even be a tenor part. It could be just kind of like a harmony part or something. Say Jesse James, for example. So if you just think about playing everything off the second string as something to grab for real quick, you get play all the notes there, and it'll that will give you some clue as to what you might be able to do with it. I saw somebody do that one time. I thought, a good way to get around all this stuff, you know, in case you're ever in this situation. But yeah, let's just think about doing that sometime. Yeah, that's what I do. It's easy to get at, and you just think, especially with some simple G, C, D, I just think, okay, just thinking in space from about here to here, you know, and it's gonna be there somewhere. Something that will sound, and then later you can work it out note for note, of course, if you want to do something like that. You can do a complex, of course, but that's one way to get around it. Just play a little Jesse James once, let me see if what I say is true.
Okay. Okay, check out. Wow. Well, what I do is I listen to the person saying it before it's my solo, and I try to harmonize with his voice. The same the chorus.
There's probably some more.
Sometimes you can find
theory or something behind all.
Well, it's simple. Sometimes you can just move up to the next major position in some of your harmony notes. If your harmony notes are the third or second string, you can be sure that you can find some harmony notes in the next position on the first and second. In the case of Old Joe Clark. Like that, you know.
Fifths or thirds. Like the next chord inversion.
Yeah, if it's playing thirds, basically. And the rest of the notes around it, as long as you're in the prevailing chord, don't seem to make too much difference. It does make an ultimate difference, you know, in terms of how you want to work it out. Like just getting those harmony notes in, it's what here's first. We sort of know this one. And you'll probably know some upper neck ones that I don't know. So.
Really?
Between the two of us.
Pat, or John, how do you approach unfamiliar charts of music, say like just sheet music? Do you just take little motives and stick them together over that chord pattern, or how do you do that?
I usually ask the guitarist next to me in the studio. So, in terms of the, I mean, if you see a chart with chords on it.
Right. You know, and you want to play a jazz type thing like on your album. Do you just stick a lot of scales together in that key, or how do you do it?
Oh, no, it's not anything like that. It's first learning the chord. It's first learning the chords, then learning the melody separately, then putting the melody with the chords, and then choosing a random amount of material in which to improvise over. Whether you want to approach it in a scale fashion, or you want to approach it horizontally or vertically in terms of arpeggial or scale fashion. Your choice of materials, you know, you actually do sit down and invent yourself a little realm to play within. I use eighth note studies to play jazz things.
Thanks.
I remember reading that.
Well, it would sound like a melodic type of thing. The reason eighth note studies, because if you're playing over certain changes, then the tendency is to play licks. Okay? So eighth note studies get you through the material out of the habit of hearing licks instead of. But then I found you play enough eighth note studies, that's all you play. So you have to be able to vary them, you know. And I find that if I write about 10 of them, I can't remember which one's which. And you start to work. After a while, things start to seep in a little bit subconsciously. Of course, you don't want to make the mistake of playing eighth note studies over solo, because then you're just rehashing what you did before. It takes a while before it's able to breathe. In other words,
Eighth note study might be
I'm sorry.
Just explain eighth note studies. Is that
What they are.
Well, I know what eighth notes are. I'm measure, I never heard that term.
Okay. If I'm playing over, say, an A minor chord. I'll play the chord with an arpeggio. Then I'll play just a long string A minor. It's simply an exercise in keeping a melodic displacement so that it sounds like you go a certain range and it resolves itself and you start another and it resolves itself and you start another, and you're keeping the resolve in your mind when you really understand it. It isn't just playing A minor notes over and up and down. It's playing them in terms of I don't want to get into the ramifications, but this scale here. Over A minor. That note contains a resolve in it because it sounds like E7. So good. Certain point to signal that you've finished one little section and you're starting another. Da 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 da. In classical music, you can do that too. Right. So what it is, it's a practice in resolving within a melodic line by using. It's not the only note you can used. But then there's playing just pure A minor, which has no resolve to it. It is basically just coming up with as much A minor stuff. There's a lot of books on jazz improvisation. One good one is the Joe Pass improvisation. It's a good book too. Yeah, it's a good book.
So you would expand that whole thing again if you wanted to do it over like a 2-5-1, just the same kind of thing, and then move through the chords.
Right. Basically. Because when you get on the 5 chord, you can do another scale. It's different. Or you can stay in the same. You can stay in a G scale and do A minor and D7 and have to change scale. It's hard to talk about. I'm not even sure I know what I'm doing. I try to sound authoritative. I'm the chief here. A lot of times, this sort of. You'll probably back me up and see if you want to play over A minor, you could actually play a lot of G sounding things because they're going to A minor. Okay? And you know that for your experience. And you know the same thing happens with E minor. You can play a lot of G things over E. Well, that's because those two chords are actually in harmony in G scales. So the A minor outlining that I was doing there is thinking G scale with this little extra note that puts in a quick resolve to start more. Then you've got, you can slide into any one of the notes of the chord. And also any one of the scale notes. Off your game.
What did you discuss playing along with the fiddle and get your album double trouble and get some nice things in there?
That's probably a lot of my territory, that's pretty good.
The one primary thing that is probably of paramount importance is timing.
You feel that so that everything works together pretty well. But, with Byron and me, that didn't really become a problem ever. I was, when we thought about doing that, I wasn't really sure that it was going to be that easy timing-wise, but Byron is probably the most consistent musician I've ever run into, or that he's played with, and that he's always right where he's going to be every time, So timing-wise, we had no problem. We always played mostly together before in the context of the band. So that didn't really turn out to be a problem, but that would have to be the first thing you think about for sure. Now, rather than just sitting down and jamming through the tunes, we had particular things that we wanted to do at certain times, like play harmonies and do that sort of thing. But if you were to try and outline a way that you were going to back up somebody just off the top of your head and playing the fiddle, or if you were going to back a fiddle, you have to start thinking of other things. There's a lot of this stuff that might sound a little bit boring if you were just practicing along. It sounds a lot more complex when you're working with the fiddle. You're actually playing a lot of the rhythm that's going in, plus whatever lead backup there happens to be. You have to think an awful lot about the rhythm and timing and where the beat is all the time.
emphasize that so that otherwise it just sounds like a couple of people playing a whole string of meaningless notes. So the rhythm at the end is really important. You have to be thinking about that all the time and try to make the rhythm stand out even when you're playing. And it is kind of good to not play too much of this with the fiddle. It seems to work better if we play rolls. But like I say, there were things that places that we wanted to play harmonies together and all that. So we had obviously all work out in advance, but so there's it's just endless. I guess that's the way square dances and that sort of thing used to be played. There's just a fiddle and banjo years ago. That was pretty much the band. I think probably Earl Scruggs and Paul Warren and the other played them earlier than that even. Anyway, they sort of defined how that was really supposed to sound, and if you listen closely to what Earl did for his backup, there's an awful lot of rhythm in it. Since they did use that for square dances in the early days, they needed it. So it was a real rhythmic, think rhythm mostly, and it's just there's a lot of that sort of thing, and a little bit in the case of like Liberty that we played on there, ended up to be my favorite thing we did. I capoed into D, but about the only thing I could do was, because most of that we were playing harmony practically all the way through, so I just kind of had to think about where the beat was all the time and make sure that always came through, so that there was no question about where the beat is.
When you guys play that Liberty thing, it's like I've seen you guys play that, and the whole front row is just like, it's like you've got them in a trance,
Yeah, it goes on and on.
What you do is you stop and say, now go rob a bank for us. Get in the trance and hypnotize people. That is an absolutely outstanding arrangement. I don't know, you guys just sit around and try things, because when you came up with that one, that was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it was indeed. Yeah, it is. I think it's one of the better things we do. It wasn't. The thing was in D, so I experimented around with where I was going to actually play it. I didn't do it out of a D position or maybe capo and work it out of a C position or whatever, but it ended up working better. I just capo and the D, leave the fifth string right where it is. Do it that way.
Is that?
Yeah.
So it was just an A from the case?
Yeah, right. It's just like this.
I thought you had tuned it down or up a bit.
No, I just left it right.
You have to use like a guitar cable to get across.
No, it's one of those little rubber stretchy things that work just fine.
You can get it at any Maryland.
Yeah, I just carry one of those around and do it on stage just in case, this thing only works down to for B. Good capos, but it needed the guy who designed it somehow, so it would work. But I really can't say a whole lot more about it because it's mostly rhythm. You're playing, you're picking, but it's still rhythm. Pretty much what it is if you're just backing up to, like I say, there's something people want to do. You kind of have to have something in mind generally as to how you want it to sound. And just kind of, while you're playing, listen to, in my case, I'm usually listening more to the other people I'm playing with than I am myself, to see where I fit and all that. And, so really pay attention to how both of you sound. Just stand back and listen, sort of, and see if that's what you want to hear. Just think rhythm. You have anything about it?
Yeah,
you've done duets with different instruments.
There's sort of a process where I tend to be very critical of myself all the time. So there's a process while you're hunting for ideas and things where you have to put that on hold. And because what I find is that if you're real critical about what you're doing while you're in the midst of finding something, then it just cuts the creative process off, you know. So having an attitude of, well, let's try this. How does this? Let's try this, and not making any judgment on it in your own lives. It really helps. Because when you're going through the creative process, everything goes. You have an innate idea of what you want, as we were saying. But until you can just say, that's almost it, or it's just sort of a feel thing. You just sort of feel that this is, now it's getting close, and then find, then you'll know. It's hard to describe in words, to sit down in a workshop and tell you what this all means, but, you know.
You obviously know what you want to hear in the first place, because when you play it back, otherwise how would you know that wasn't it?
That's right, that's right.
So there's obviously some idea floating around back there that you know what you want to hear. I think it's just a matter of working it.
Question about when somebody's putting together an album or something, and you're going to go in and play, or anybody, is there a general practice? People like putting together a tape to send out to the players he's going to have, or is it just people usually just come in and sit down and there it is, and you got to learn it right then and there?
Well, usually it depends on the degree of difficulty as far as tunes are concerned. And I think whoever is going to be doing the record would have some idea of, regardless of the musicians he was going to get on there to play on the record, he'd have a pretty good idea as to how difficult this was going to be to work out right on the spot. So it'd be to his advantage to send a tape and if necessary a chart or something like that.
Is that a common thing to do?
Yeah, when the tune demands it, it is. I've gone into some sessions where guys said, it's a piece of cake, I can do it, you know. These things staggering sometimes, but, you know.
Who's piece of cake?
Yeah, right. Just Fred Warner and those dudes from things.
Right.
Well, like running out the back door.
They gave me the Rosario Santo version of a Bach piece.
Oh, wow.
I think all of us have done some
pouring over it like, oh God, you want to buy it when? Is this a dry cleaning kind of thing? He practiced all year on it, and we get a week.
Ah.
And I have gone in too, there was people who want to do they want a tax write-off, but they also wanted to maybe get it back at some other time. So what they did was get rid of all this money by doing an album one afternoon. Byron and a bunch of us, there was some electric instruments and some this and that, and acoustic. So we went in and we did a whole bunch of traditional tunes, and we did an album in about 7 hours or something. But there wasn't more than a couple of takes on them. We just kind of jammed and had a good time. There's some real good players, and it was not a problem. And it served its purpose. And later after listening, there was something there. But and for something like that, where the tunes are all going to be pretty much things most people have heard, even though, like, say, the piano player and would not play that kind of stuff all the time, but we knew that it wouldn't be a problem for him because he was really a good player. So you can do that too, and just nail it, have no problems with it. You sort of have to get a kind of feel for the people you're going to be playing that know what their limitations are. Some people don't feel comfortable. Dan Curry is getting that. He likes to have his breaks worked out to most everything and know exactly what he's going to do in advance. He doesn't, or especially in a performing situation. Not that he can't play things off the top of his head, he just doesn't like to do it that way. He likes to know pretty much in advance what he's going to be doing. Sometimes it's kind of fun just to leave it up in the air.
I get the impression he plays so hard that he would sound as loud as a banjo in his room. Is that about true?
It's about true, yeah. He holds the pick kind of funny. He holds it like this. So, and you use a medium thickness pick, so that if he really wants to get a lot of noise out of it, he just kind of pushes it and it bends it so that it makes it stiffer, and he gets a harder sound. We used to, but he started doing this thing. I kind of told him about what Charlie Waller was doing, you know, like he'd play maybe 2 sets, take the strings off, put another ball on the string, which would move the string away from the saddle. And
that's where they break through.
Yeah. And so he never has a problem with it.
Oh, so he keeps
Does the winding come off the wound strings?
Pardon me?
Winding doesn't come off on the wound strings when he does that?
No. I mean, he won't keep the strings on there for all that long, but I mean, he's at least able to get a few more sets out of the set of strings. You just save that to tighten up.
Yeah.
Usually strings don't stretch that much. Generally, what it is the string is just pulling its way back tight against the peg. You guys change pegs like crazy trying to find it, but it's not really what the problem is. And you lock the string in there against itself. I don't know. You put the string through like so. It goes through like that, and then you bring it back around and under this part. Pull it up, and then tighten it, and it locks against itself, and you don't have to
I've been doing it that way for years, and somebody told me the other day that's the way to break them, and I said, well, that's not the conventional wisdom, because everybody I know winds in the back.
Right, winds in the back.
We're actually learning something. I just put them on there and wind them. Yeah.
You don't break that tuning problem sometimes, so I try to eliminate all that little...
Been missing out over these years.
Yeah. Technical on these things, there are so many moving parts on it. Sometimes if you're in a performing situation, you know, you want things to get done as easily as possible, like when you put the cable on, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of things to think about. It's like setting up for a drag race before you go play. You know, all these parts you gotta get to stick moving.
Pat, how do you approach your chord melody playing?
I play the melody on the first 2 strings usually. If it goes below, then I use these 2 strings as I'm humming. Then after I've gotten the melody and still on the first 2 strings, then I play basic chords for them, usually from a chart. And then I try to find ways to make a transition between the basic chords, so it provides a little interest in the melody.
Thanks.
Yeah. There's a couple of very basic techniques that you can use for the orchestration of a song. Say if you got like a... Then I know that's okay. So in between the B flat and F, there's an F7. Okay. So in jazz parlance, that can be followed with a C minor before it. So it sounds like. Let's see. C7 chord follows by the G minor. That's the F7. That's the F7 again. So with the melody note. Once you get the basic chords, and you get transitions between the basic chords, basically. And a lot of jazz music is adding these transition chords, who sometimes couch themselves in dominance and diminution, sometimes in minor.
Yeah. Thanks, Pat.
You bet.
Just real quick again, you went from a F to a B flat, so you put the F7 thing, standard 7. And then
Yes.
you said that you can put a C minor after the F7?
Before the F7.
Before the F7?
Right. It sounds like this in just chord thing. Like that. So now here's your C minor. Right. But the trick is doing it as the melody goes. So if it's like, there's your C7 there, like that. Then this is a diminished chord going to this C minor 6, which is F7. Then this, B flat right there. Let's see. And the diminished chord provides a transition. Then, let's see. Let's see. That's the same C7 transition. That doesn't sound like C7, does it? See, there's enough of a hint at movement so that you're not disguising the melody, you're just showing the movement behind it, okay? So a C7 would take what they call a D flat diminished.
C7 could take a D flat diminished?
Right.
You could interchange?
Right, as a transition.
As you're going from C7 to something else?
Right,
Whatever
right.
that would result. Okay.
Or you could call it D flat, or you could call it D flat or E or G or B flat.
Yeah.
It's all the same dimension. But that functions as a C7 with a flat at 9. Here's a 9. Here's a 9. Okay, so in terms of a transition, where instead of playing just a straight C7, you can play the flat at 9 C7 or the diminished chord. It serves as a transition before your ears are ready to identify anything. Just a pure C7. But that's all that jazz music is. It's just it's a way of providing transitions between the chords that are already there. Just elaborating a little more than that's there. Why don't we play something before we? That's a good question.
No, swing tunes?
I'd like to do a bluegrass tune.
Swing bluegrass.